Now, this information I'm about to talk about comes from mentalhealth.gov. The vast majority of people with mental health problems are no more likely to be violent than anyone else. Did you hear that? They are no more likely to be more violent than anyone else. Most people with mental illness are not violent, and only 3 to 5% of violent acts can be attributed to individuals living with a serious mental illness. In fact, people with severe mental illness are over 10 times more likely to be the victim of a violent crime than the general population. You probably know someone with a mental health problem and don't even realize it, because many people with mental health problems are highly active and productive members of our communities. So, what's the point of that? Well, take it this way. If only 3% of all murders is by mentally ill, then why do the mentally ill get such a bad rap? Why do we always look down at the mentally ill and act like they're violent, crazy animals? They're clearly not that. The truth is, people get this impression from movies, and I'll prove that by the end of this video. The truth is, there is no mental illness that is guaranteed to make you into a serial killer. There's just no mental illness that does that. So to blame mental illness instead of the person is stupid. Now, of course, when I said this in my last video, almost immediately I got 2 messages of people saying, oh, well, schizophrenics, well, they're all killers. That just made me jump up in my seat in excitement a little bit, because that is the furthest thing from the truth. That just goes to show you how brainwashed people really are. No mental illness that will turn you into a murderer? How about schizophrenia? People who suffer from that have killed people. Yeah, and the amount is absolutely small. There is a hair, and I just mean that, a hair, more of a chance of you being more violent if you're a paranoid schizophrenic. But that's a hair. Did you know that you're 5.5 times more likely to kill people if you're black? In 2013, black criminals carried out 38% of murders, compared to just the 31% for whites. Again, despite the fact there are 5 times more white people in the US. So again, blacks are 5.5 times more likely to kill than other races. Should we start treating them differently? Should we make it so they can't own guns like we're trying to do to the mentally ill? No, you think that's stupid? Well, you know what I think is stupid? I think it's stupid that you think it's okay to discriminate against the mentally ill, but you don't think it's okay to discriminate against blacks. And I find it funny that it's okay to discriminate against the mentally ill when they are not more likely to be murderers, right? Again, out of all murderers, only 3% are mentally ill. So let me get this straight. It's okay to discriminate against those people, the people that are not more likely to be violent, but the race that is 5.5 times more likely to kill, we can't discriminate against them. Again, I just want to be clear. I don't discriminate against anybody, right? I think discrimination is one of the worst things you could possibly do. I don't think blacks should be discriminated against, the same way I feel that the mentally ill shouldn't either. Also, I want to point out that that freaking comment, that the one that we just saw, just said schizophrenia. The reason why he says schizophrenia and not paranoid schizophrenia is because he doesn't know the difference between the other different variants of schizophrenia. He wants to ban all schizophrenics from owning guns. There are types of schizophrenics that just zone out. That's all they do. That's their problem. Why should they lose gun rights for that? They might have a mild case of it. Others are disorganized schizophrenics who are just disorganized. They're basically like super ADHD. Why should they lose gun rights over that? That's fucking retarded. These people are throwing all schizophrenics in a fucking bucket when they're all different. And I've known a handful of paranoid schizophrenics, which are the ones that do have hallucinations and hear voices. And guess how many have actually attacked people? Guess how many were violent? 0! And I've known, I think, 4 of them. I guess they should lose constitutional rights, right? I mean, even though they've never done anything to anybody, they should just lose them, right? Okay, let's go to another comment where people say mental illness can make you into a serial killer, and they use paranoid schizophrenia as an example. I love this one. Okay, DAPS, there are mental illnesses that can make you a murderer. For example, paranoid schizophrenics are generally reticent to engage in interactions with others. Oh, they're a social recluse. Must be a murderer. But some of them have hallucinations or voices telling them to kill someone. Okay, everybody thinks this. Everybody thinks like, oh, the voices, because if somebody hears a voice, it must be evil and it must be telling them to kill somebody. No, you idiots. The voices are just their own thoughts. They just can't tell that it's their own thoughts. Just because they don't know it's their own thoughts doesn't mean those thoughts are automatically violent. You know the guy's ignorant. The fact that he thinks that schizophrenics, paranoid schizophrenics, are violent. The vast majority of them are non-violent. Let me read you something. Data from the National Institute of Mental Health, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that area, study indicate that 2.3% of Americans in good mental health had committed a violent act in the course of a year. Among those with schizophrenia or a major mood disorder, the rate was 7%, the study reported. But it is important to keep those figures in perspective, said Duke University medical sociologist Jeffrey Swanson, who compiled those figures and published them. Yes, the rate is 3 times higher among mentally ill people, but it still means that 93% of them were non-violent at all. Again, I just want to reiterate that these numbers are not talking about murderers, right? We're talking about just violence in general. Yes, 7% of schizophrenics might be violent, but they're not murderers, right? The amount that are actually murderers is probably less than 1%. But this dingus here in the comments section wants to ban all guns from these people when 99% of them are not going to be killers in their lifetime. Again, removing constitutional rights from paranoid schizophrenics when 93% of them are non-violent at all and like more than 99% are not murderers at all. So again, you'll take away rights from paranoid schizophrenics who are way less than 1% murderer, but you won't take away rights from blacks who are 5.5 times more likely to kill than other races. Hypocrite much? Swanson's research has also found that 19.7%, so like 20% of substance abusers, have committed a violent act in the last year, making the demographic nearly 3 times more dangerous than the mentally ill. So let's break it down. All of us know a few people that do a lot of drugs. They are more likely to be more violent than the freaking paranoid schizophrenics. By 3 times. So while this dude is freaking paranoid about paranoid schizophrenics who are not very violent at all, the vast majority aren't violent, he should be actually worried about his friend who does drugs. I'm kidding, of course. Discrimination is wrong in general. Then this guy goes on to mention some other mental illnesses, saying that they could manifest as violence. Dude, just because something has happened before doesn't mean it's common. Just because something can happen doesn't mean it always will. I've shown you the statistics. This crap barely happens. And those statistics I showed you include all these mental illnesses you're talking about. Out of all murders, only 3% are from the mentally ill. This should click something in your head, but it's not clicking for some reason. It should click in your head that maybe this stuff just happens in movies, because that's what this freaking statistic is saying. And this is why he fears schizophrenics. It's because the guy watches too much television. Okay, this video is done. I just had to make it because, fuck, man, I known some schizophrenics in my life. I had a friend that was schizophrenic, and they're completely misrepresented by the media. So I made this for all the schizophrenics out there that are being misrepresented, that are being treated like fucking animals. I hope this video gets out there and does some good for you. Catch you on the next episode.